Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new League of Legends video. So this is going to be the second video I upload today, but there's some very important information that has just been revealed by Riot, and it's with a champion that is extremely forgotten in League of Legends. So when there's any information regarding a rework or some actual buffs happening, well, it's pretty damn exciting news. So if you have not already guessed, the big announcement is regarding AATROX, the champion that we almost never see nowadays because he's just sort of outdated. I mean, he's essentially, if you really think about it and boil it down, a weaker and kind of more useless version of Tryndamere, because Tryndamere can do pretty much everything AATROX does, but better, and scales arguably better as well. So without question, there are definitely some changes that have to be done to AATROX in order to try and put him back into the meta, or at least put him back into a spot where he's actually playable and you aren't considered almost trolling your team just for picking him. So the news regarding him is extremely exciting, so without further ado, let's get right into it. So about 2 hours ago, there was an official post made on the League of Legends forums by Meddler talking about some things and changes happening to AATROX very shortly. Now he does state that these changes are going to be just kind of temporary fixes while they actually look into the actual true big rework happening to AATROX. But you can definitely almost argue that the changes even happening to him now, or at least very soon, are already enough to be considered somewhat of a mini rework prior to the one that will happen in maybe a couple of months down the line or so, where they'll finally do a big large scale rework for AATROX. But the point is, it is coming. But what are they going to do to AATROX in the meantime? Well, some decent significant changes, the first of which being they want to shift the passive to a windowed one. So for example, they want it to be a proc that grants attack speed and AD, and it will revive AATROX if the passive is off of cooldown for a duration with some downtime. So I mean, you won't always have it up, but again, there's going to be some synergy between having your passive, which still revives you, but also giving you this new passive that also gives you effects or bonuses, while your actual revive passive isn't really being all that useful or used at all. And they state how a big issue when it comes to actually balancing AATROX or putting him into a certain spot in the game that's actually viable has been revolved around his passive, the revive passive. It's been somewhat of an odd mechanic, and they've had issues finding a way to balance him around it. The second is somewhat of a big change where they want to remove the percent health cost on his abilities. So for example, his E ability, they would probably make it a flat HP cost, not a percentage one, because well, currently, and I agree with this and Riot did state this, AATROX is extremely feast or famine. I mean, either he'll do really well or he'll do very poorly, and for the most part he will do very poorly. But at the same time, having this percentage HP kind of abilities makes him very specific on what type of builds he can do and how successful he can be with them. Either he's stat checking people hard with a drain tank pattern, or he's just simply dying. So the goal with this is to try and give him more flexibility with what kinds of builds he can do, which will open up more pathways for him to be more useful for his team in different scenarios and not be this kind of extremely one-dimensional feast or famine champion that for the most part at the moment is usually famine. And the next change that they also want to do is changing the W heal so it's not dependent on his AD, or at least not as extremely different above and below 50% HP as well, because as AATROX does fall below that 50% HP threshold, well, his W kicks in like about 3 times harder. So this ties in with the build path options above, which I just talked about, with a percent missing heal looking like a fairly likely mechanic. So these are the 3 major things that they have so far announced regarding AATROX. They want to try and give him more viability and more, I guess, dynamic gameplay, and not make him such a feast or famine champion. And they want to make his passive something a bit more useful and not be just this random thing that will be useful here and there, but the majority of the game you're not really actually using it for anything. Now the cool thing is the fact that there's actually more details and context that are going to be revealed next week, so expect even more changes happening to AATROX in the very short time. But either way guys, that is about it for this video. Just wanted to give you a very quick and short announcement regarding AATROX because there's finally some very interesting news. He's going to be receiving some pretty damn big changes very soon, and a big actual large-scale rework is on its way for AATROX as well. So maybe we'll start seeing this guy in your solo queue games, in your ranked games, and just in general in your League of Legends games. But either way, if you enjoyed this video and if you're excited for AATROX changes, hit it with that like button. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Check out my other videos as well, and hope to see you from the next one. Peace.